Thank you. Gary.
I'm in love.
Hey, hey, me too. You're a married man. Back off.
Okay,
That's right.
I'm sorry, I did. Oh, you need one. Three minutes. Let's go for 50-50.
If you were in here earlier, like, right?
They couldn't possibly. This supposed to be
That would be I got the light one anyway. Yes.
You'll answer all your digital radio questions.
I give out a few.
Okay, good. Oh, Jim, I have yours too. Here, let me get my. George, my bag. Ah, there it is. Okay.
He has to put that on first. It's official then.
Yeah, no, that's a big.
He knows who his name is.
Yes, right. I'm Gary. Yeah.
LUU is here. He's not here.
I got Gary
All right, 7-7. I can do that. I don't think he's here. He told me this morning. Phil stands. I'll get it up on
Jason just had a brother in our box, like this empty space before it starts. And then it's already posted online. You can watch it right after. You got no good to do. Not much to it. All you need is a camera and a mic. I use the snowball.
I've got a little. I did not.
Yeah.
She did great work.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Yo.
This is yeah, you know what? I'm going to give it to Dustin. Wade's coming up. So I'll give this to Dustin. I'll give this to Dustin. And the rest, you just hang on. No, you can't have that. No, stop this one. Take one.
All right. I'm gonna bludgeon us to order here. Knock, knock. Knock, knock. Meeting has come to order. Everybody sign in. We'll send it around here if you guys need to sign in. Go ahead and get that started. We will also do our obligatory introductions this morning. Morning. This morning. Just like
I don't know what time it is. I've had a busy day.
I figured you did.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm Jason, NADI. I'm the president of SARA.
Stephen,
Thank you, Jordan.
Stephen NHWB, I'm vice president and also VE liaison. Whatever that means.
Gary, George, somebody. AAHCS, Gary.
Takes way too much vacation.
Ken Dorsey, K8OAD. Benny, KC8BEO.
George, November 1, Echo Zulu Zulu.
I already did mine. I did mine.
Mark, you're up.
Okay. Mark, Sarah Ponto, sir. Larry,
Larry paid his dues today, by the way. I just want everybody to know.
All right, Larry.
No, you actually paid. Fine.
Never tried to collect. Eric, WADLM.
Okay, we need a little attention on deck here, folks. We have some very important people that need to be established as here. And Eric is absolutely very important people.
Not anymore.
Well, that's true.
Wow.
No,
Okay, well, then make all kinds of.
no. He got a promotion in a different club.
Oh, did he? Wow.
Yeah, he's president.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we done?
Go ahead, Bill.
I think it's called El Duce.
Bill, KNAWK.
Nice.
Go ahead, Rod.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, really, come on.
Next time.
And I'm Wendy, KHJAX.
Ed, K8OIM. KBALK.
Mine, Kilo Delta.
We gotta get you on the air more, apparently, Mike.
That's sad, man. That's sad.
EAI.
New member?
Yes.
New member? New member? Yay! Go ahead, Dave.
NTAD Dave from Conference.
WDA, CTV, Gary, and Washburn.
W8TV, Jeff, club treasurer, and also wanted to congratulate Benny on getting his extra license.
You can't live any of this down. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about that.
My name is Russ,
KDA3YP, and I am the new secretary.
Our new club secretary and the master.
Bus master. Cleaner of the bus toilet.
All right.
Bob?
Yeah, that's Bob, KE8UJT, or Ugly Jumbo Drunk, and I'm the round mound from Norton.
Nice.
New member and newly licensed too.
Yeah, I'm not the sound.
All right.
Marty, any next PK?
Wait a minute. Whoa. Back up.
What?
Who?
Marty, any next PK?
You a new member?
Yeah.
That's your last month.
How was your lunch?
I got you back.
AG also in Norton. Dustin, KDEEC. Ryan, K5RFG, from Covington/Wadsworth.
Nice.
Lane, KD8JJL.
My daughter's here for the food.
She's gonna get one though, right?
I've tried. All right. We did our introductions. I mailed around the minutes yesterday, thanks to Eric, who turned in his last official set of minutes as club secretary. So thanks to Eric again for his couple years as, what, 3, 4?
Four.
That spelled Zeke's first name right.
All right, good job.
Nice.
Glad we got that in there.
Well, how can you get
But anybody have any corrections to the minutes before we approve them? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second, George. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ones become secretary.
Cricket.
All right. Let's see. Upcoming announcements. Hamvention is coming up. If you're a newly licensed ham, this one is a pretty good group of gathering of hams. It's I think it's still the largest in North America. It's still bigger than Hamcation, right?
Right, it is. Yeah.
And then I think Friedrichshafen in Germany is the only bigger one.
Yeah, Freakers.
But it's in Xenia, which is out a little bit east of Dayton. It's about a little under a 3-hour drive, I think, if you make good time out there. It is 9 to 5 Friday and Saturday, 9 to 1 on Sunday. You can get tickets if you want to go. You can buy them online you can buy them online until maybe this week, next week, something like that. And then, they have them at the cashiers at DX Engineering, or you can buy them $31 at the door, or you could take the bus with SARA for one day. So this is my promised announcement. We did, as a club, decide to organize the bus trip. It is going to go. We got enough people bought into it. Yes, thank you, everybody. It will depart from the Acme Plaza up in Montrose at 5:30 a.m. sharp, which is a time
in the morning.
Yeah, this is a time that Gary does not believe exists, but Russ will leave you behind if you're not there.
We're gonna go by and take a two-wheeler and by Gary's house and wheel him out.
All right.
That ungodly hour, Gary.
It is.
If you want to see Gary at 5:30 in the morning, this is your opportunity.
It's not pretty.
But the bus will go 9. You'll get to Hamvention by the opening at 9 on Saturday. Departs at 4, which is not as early as you'd think. Hamvention's only 9 to 5, so you're only going to miss the last hour. There is going to be a mid-trip stop each way for breakfast and dinner. If you want to get in on it, you can buy the bus fare and entrance ticket up till today, and the treasurer is standing by to take your money.
You'll give me the money if you have cash.
Or you'll give Russ the money if you have cash. After today, you can buy a seat on the bus only. You'll have to get your own ticket, $74. We can take up to 54 on the bus. I think there's 21 seats left under the current math. So if you decide last minute you want to go, you can buy a seat on the bus up until the day before.
No, that day, you can
Oh.
show up and wait.
Assuming there's a seat left, you could show up and
Yeah.
try to get on the bus, which I think should be fine. So if you're interested and decide last minute to go, there will be seats available. Any questions on the bus trip?
What kind of bus is it?
Big bus.
Are you asking yourself? Because you're the only one who knows that.
Should be a coach.
According to Russ and Gary, it's nicer than the Parf bus.
Well, I haven't
Our
seen
bus,
one.
nice.
But it's more expensive.
Have you looked at the price of gas though recently, Russ?
This
That
is
might be
true.
right.
Yeah, but I got this price a while ago.
All right.
It could be a Volkswagen van. It's the price of gas.
I did promise to pass this along. I think was now I'm blanking who sent this to me. But if you've seen Wordle, which is that game that's very popular right now, someone came up with Morsel, which is a Wordle-like thing where they play a CW sound faster and then a little slower, and then once you figure out what it is, I guess you rank yourself on what word speed you got it at. So if you're into that, that'd be something to check out. We've got a lot of announcements today. NVIS Day is Saturday. If you are into that sort of thing, NVIS is a lot of fun to talk locally on HF. A lot of 80 and 40 meter stuff will be going on. This is mostly to get people, to have a group of people on the air at the same time testing stuff out. It's this Saturday from 10 to 4. Realistically, you'll hear people from about 10 to 1, 2 o'clock at the latest. Don't fire up the radio at 3:30 and think you're going to hear lots of people doing the NVIS stuff. Power, a W8SGT, which is the Ohio Aries station at the state of Ohio EMA, will be up doing NVIS. 100 watts, max power, just like field day. They do want you to exchange your grid, what power rating, and what your true measured signal report is. And they did say this isn't a contest, so take your time, try designs, and have fun. So if you're interested in that, there will be some people on the air operating. I know I will be for a little while, so we're not. That's not a club thing.
Jason, real quick, for those who might be new or not might not know what NVIS is, basically, probably the simplest way I think maybe to describe it would be to say antennas that are less than a quarter wavelength above the ground. Is that about right?
Depending on the band, yeah.
But just in general?
Yeah, in general, it's a lower antenna, usually in an inverted V, or there's some other kinds of designs that, basically blows the RF straight up into the air.
Shooting your signal straight up into the air, bouncing it back in, as opposed to trying to get a bounce DX. So basically, I'll probably be working 80 meters with a loop at about a quarter wavelength, 35 feet, basically. Or just take a 40-meter dipole, lay it on the ground.
Yeah.
String it around fence high. That's fine.
Yeah, don't literally lay it on the ground.
Yeah, but string it about fence high.
Near the ground.
You'll work at NVIS.
Yep. You can do an awful lot with NVIS that people don't realize. There's a lot of lore out there about antennas, about height and different things that you'll find out very quickly. It's only optimization.
If you're thinking about emergency communication, you're not going to get help from somebody 1,000 miles away. You want help from somebody within a couple of 100 miles.
Sure.
So NVIS is really pretty much important communication HF for us.
I'm not going to get help from a contest station in the Caribbean.
Canary Islands,
Maybe.
sending a package.
Yeah. What am I going to do with my Gap Titan now?
So I want to impose on George to let everybody know what he just did this morning.
I have an NVIS up. It's a MFIT, and it's chameleon balanced, the hybrid, 2.0, and it'll take 800 watts. I set it up in the front yard. It's on military mast. It's only 9 feet off the ground. I have 3 reflector wires, one underneath the radiator, and 2 other ones 6 feet either side. And I use it for Homeland Security shares nets and pretty much, and works great. And this morning I sent a lot of WinLink messages. If I don't, I'll forget how to do it. And I sent one this morning on 60 meters, 50 watts, and the station was 522 miles away. It's not supposed to do it.
60 meters or 30 meters?
Or 30, I'm sorry.
Because you emailed me and you said 30 meters.
30 meters, I'm sorry, 30 meters. 10.145, okay? Yeah, with 50 watts, it works. And I do that all the time. Last night on a sheriff's net, I was on a sheriff's net, just a little bit below 40 meters. And there was a guy in South Dakota, and I heard him really well and checked in the net. So it really, really works. We used NVIS when I was in St. John during Hurricane Maria. It worked there. Okay, so it's it's as far as regional comms for a disaster, you can't beat it. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I did that.
I can do NVIS to George from my house. We've tested that a couple times.
What band?
Huh?
What band? Were you using?
Just a little
Federal radio. It was
Just a little bit below.
a little bit below 40.
You guys are special.
Yeah. You can get in on it.
I'm not.
Treasurer's report.
All right, you can see that we collected this month some more for the Ham mentioned bus trip. We did have a expense for we paid out for shack plaques. Another one of those coming up. That's been very successful. We did collect $747.75 in club dues. Also some more collection for shack plaques, $332.34. And $62 from our 50/50 raffle last time around, bringing the balance to $10,028.09, $40,28.09 in the general allocation, and $3,000 in the repeater allocation.
And actually I still have not changed the date from the January meeting.
Oh, you did not?
Look at this. Take a motion to approve. Approve. Stefan, second. What?
Approve of the new day.
Oh, yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Business meeting is going to be pretty short. Not a lot of activity since last month. As we mentioned earlier, we do welcome Russ as the new club secretary.
That's the picture you can come with.
That's it.
That is the picture that I could find of you. So if you want to come up with something, we'll get a better picture.
That's
We
the
have
one
this
from
other picture, but.
Yeah.
So
We found him on the dark web.
And the other thing is, we did put the classified ads section back up on the website. We had taken it down for a while because it was getting a lot of junk spam submissions, and I got tired of weeding them out, and I turned them off. But I fixed some stuff, and it is back. So if you are looking to sell or buy, down in the bottom right-hand corner, or now there's a standalone menu item, there's some stuff up there. I know Barry posted some stuff from a Silent Key he's helping liquidate. Someone else, Bob, posted some stuff. There's some stuff up there right now. As we did mention, dues are due. If you have not, you received a lovingly direct email from me asking you to consider renewing. I'm not going to belabor this. There is no report for the technical committee. Operating committee has been discussing Field Day 2022. A couple improvements we're looking to make this year. We are going to look at getting the consensus seems to be narrowing in on a aluminum push-up mast that will be able to put the antennas on top of, and then you can kind of push them up and pin it, and push the next section up and pin it. That'll be a nice improvement in the setup. There's discussion about putting up a end-fed half wave with a 49-to-1 Unen at the end, which should be pretty smooth for all of the stations to work as well. And there was some talk about maybe doing some A/B comparison testing to see which regions you hear with which type of antenna. And we are looking this year at working on some of the background noise problems. If you've worked a SARA station, it's loud, mostly because people are having a good time, which is good, but also bad. So, Chris,
Good for us.
It's good for us, bad for the people who
Bad
listen.
for communication.
For people who have listened to us. We're going to make some changes with the layout this year. Chris, N8ACP, has also been doing some work on some lower cost noise canceling headphones. He's got a ear overlay that's like a aircraft quality ear overlay. He's very excited about them. They sound good. So we're going to probably buy 6 or 7 pairs of those, as well as some adapters to match with some of the radios to try and cut down some of that noise. We may end up still having to maybe put up some partitions with moving blankets or something, but we're hoping the mics maybe will just take care of it. Yeah.
I've got a 30-foot push-up mast, aluminum, sitting in my shed back of the house. I'd be willing to look for all the parts and donate it to the field day.
We need one. We're looking for a taller one. We need 45.
Yeah, no, I got 30 foot push-up.
45 is kind of the magic for some of the
that's all I got.
designs. So,
You could go buy one and donate it to one. Little something.
Russ is a plethora, great idea.
Oh, yeah, that's what he is. Fletcher.
Dustin, I know, did anybody else on the operations committee that I could cover? I think I covered everything.
Got it all.
Yeah. I'm planning on returning to the Legion Hall again. It seems to be a good location. So more to come on field day. So put that on your calendar. Education committee, we don't have any action for that report yet. And like I said, this is going to be a fairly short meeting. I don't have anything for the social committee other than the bus trip, which you already covered.
Yeah, bus trip, and that's really all thanks to Russ. He's really stepped up and picked that ball up and ran with it. I will say we are working on design for the 2022 field day T-shirts. That will be forthcoming, and we'll be offering those for sale here shortly. Also, in conjunction with that, the spring apparel sale will happen. Lightweight jackets. We're going to add a polo shirt embroidered SARA logo with personalized if you want it. So that'll be part of the offering as well, along with the hats, embroidered hats, and that type of thing for our spring apparel sale. So that is in the works. That is forthcoming, and of primary importance right now is the field day T-shirts. We'll get that out. That again will be a single color, single design, non-personalizable. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. And it'll be a great, it's going to be a great T-shirt, I'm just telling you. So that's
Gary's seal of approval.
Absolutely.
No SARA puffy shirt.
No puffy vest.
No, the puffy vest was fine. I love the puffy
I
shirt.
love my puppy.
I know you do.
Papers, great.
I wish I would have known it looked that good.
I wish it was darker, but yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, for business meeting, any other business from the floor? Going once, going twice.
Marty, you had something.
I don't see what
Yes.
There's no E in Phillies.
There's no E in.
Oh. I fixed that almost everywhere
So
now.
next month we'll be at Finey's Sports Cars. That's just down the street
Yeah.
in Nortone.
All right. Stefan's gonna be making the slides for the meeting from now on.
Awesome.
All right. If any other new business, we'll do 50-50 and then adjourn.
All right, get out your red tape.
You're no Rick.
You know how long this process usually takes. You know what I mean?
Am I getting a drum roll?
You were, but you're too slow.
It's over now.
All right, the 50-50 number is 736 4 1 9.
Right here. Bingo.
Right.
Here.
All right, Mark.
There you go.
Over.
You check that ticket, Russ? I'm kidding, Mark. He was going for that cash fast. That's what I was. So we need to check that. All right. But those we're going to close the business portion of the meeting next month right here, 5:45 for dinner, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock for the meeting. Gary will be talking about the joys of working special event stations. I predict that we will hear about the Route 66 event, 13 colonies.
I'm going to try to work that.
13 colonies,
Yeah.
and the Motor Speedway one.
W9 IMS.
So, Anyway, with
Among
that,
others.
among others, but those we'll for sure hear about those.
Absolutely.
With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm going to call Benny this time because Stefan's got the first three of them. Well, Stefan's second.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right. With that,
5-minute break.
we'll get, 5-minute break. We'll get set up. Ken's going to talk about the International Space Station here in a few. If you need a refill, this would be a good time. And we'll get started here in just a few minutes.
Time out.
What happened?
I forgot to give out the hat.
Oh.
You have hats too?
I have
Well, you can give out hats now, that's fine. Hold the number.
All right.
Come get a hat.
Oh,
7364552.
That's all right. I invited a small group of people. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have that there.
Barrel is 736347.
There's, I didn't know. Oh, yeah, you're.
347 at once. Oh, thank God. Thank God. You put that on your head.
Last number, 73635.
Oh, I had turned it down earlier.
Oh, that's me. 355?
Yep, 355. You want a DX hat?
Harold.
I don't look.
There you go. That's my Harold thing that you.
What?
What?
The tennis session over at the falls, they bring the Joe tennis, and they said he failed. And I was looking at this, and I said, Joe, I said, he had 37 questions. Well, that's 50 questions.
Out of what?
37. I said, Joe, I did.
You need one?
Got him.
I got one. What's it taken?
And I said, and the guy was sitting there, he goes,
When did he?
Where do you need me to stand? I'm
No.
trying to stay still.
I'm trying to I'll try to your picture. Stay right underneath your picture.
Pass the.
We're good. We'll get you covered.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to start the program here. I think everybody's in. I'm sorry if 5 minutes isn't enough.
Where's Jason at? Oh, he's back there. Okay, he's on.
20 years ago.
All right. Again, my name is Ken Dorsey. My call sign is Kilo Alpha 8 Oscar Alpha Delta. And tonight I'm going to talk about receiving pictures from space, specifically SSTV pictures from the International Space Station. So twice a year, the International Space Station does a special event where they send pictures from the space station over SSTV. They usually send a group of about 12 pictures. It usually lasts for a week, so you usually have plenty of time to get some pictures. They always have some kind of a theme. So one time they had a theme about moon, exploring the moon. So on that theme, all the pictures are always kind of around the theme. So for the moon exploration, they had a picture of the lunar rover. They had a picture of Apollo 11 landing on the moon. So they had a bunch of moon-type pictures. Another time they did a event that was it was about the first satellite in space, Sputnik. So all of the pictures had something to do with Sputnik. And they usually send a group of about 12 pictures. Now, if you're worried that you have to spend $3,000 or $4,000 to buy a computer-controlled AZEL rotator with dual circularly polarized antennas, you don't need any of this stuff for the space station.
Well, you didn't say that at the Aries meeting.
No, because he wanted you,
I went on board.
he wanted you to buy that stuff.
Is that available at DSA?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is, actually. But you don't need this stuff. You don't even need one of those handheld arrow antennas that the guys use when they're out portable doing, the satellite stuff with the amateur satellites. The reason you don't need this kind of equipment, don't need it. The reason you don't need this kind of equipment is the space station actually transmits 25 watts, a full 25 watts. So 25 watts line of sight, you can take anything. You can use an HT, something like this with a rubber duck. That's all you need. You can use a handheld scanner. Anything that will receive 145.800 FM is all you need to receive these pictures from the space station. So again, nothing fancy required whatsoever.
Well, what do you need besides the radio?
Well, I'm going to tell you.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
But wait.
So
Great question, Fred.
Now you need a $2,500.
No,
No,
you need software. You do need software to decode the pictures. The software is free. Everything tonight that I'm going to talk about is free. There's nothing, no expense involved. As long as you already have a radio, you're good to go. 145.800.
800.
Yep. So first of all, I know we have some new hands in here, and maybe you don't know about SSTV, what it is. Maybe you haven't been exposed to SSTV. So I want to explain a little bit about SSTV first, and then we'll go on to the good stuff, receiving the pictures from the space station. So what is SSTV? Well, SSTV stands for Slow Scan TV. Okay, it is not TV, but it is very slow. So basically half of that is true. Amateur radio SSTV has been around since 1957, so it's nothing new. It started out using surplus radar display tubes with very long persistence P7 phosphors. So the picture would come down and it would slowly come line by line on the display, and you'd see the picture, and then it would slowly fade from the top to the bottom as the phosphor ended up slowly disappearing. So they started using these very long persistence radar displays, basically old radar displays. It does use a narrowband transmission standard, taking up only 3 kilohertz of bandwidth. In comparison, our old analog TV used to take 6 megahertz, at least 6 megahertz of bandwidth to transmit 25 or 30 frames per second. Now, SSTV, on the other hand, takes about 8 seconds up to a couple of minutes, depending on the mode that's being used, to transmit only one image. So it's a slow transmission. And unfortunately, the International Space Station uses what they call PD-120 as the mode they transmit in. And in PD-120, it takes a full 2 minutes to get a full picture. Now, this can be a bad thing because some of the passes are very short. So if you only have a 3-minute pass of the space station, you're not going to get a picture. And the reason being is because they send the pictures in a 50% duty cycle. So they send a picture, 2 minutes, then they completely go off the air for 2 minutes, and they send the next picture the next 2 minutes. So it's 2 minutes, then 2 minutes, 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. So it's a 50% duty cycle, so they don't end up burning up the transmitter, basically. But it is a very slow transmission. So if you're, like I said, if it's a 3-minute pass, the chances of getting a full picture is almost impossible. You have to get a pretty high pass. It has to be a fairly long 6-7 minute pass. And you can usually get a very good picture with a pass like that. So just some history, SSTV was used to transmit images from the far side of the moon from the Russian spacecraft Luna 3 in 1959. And I have that picture here in a few minutes. The Apollo TV cameras used SSTV to transmit images from Apollo 7, 8, 9, as well as the Apollo 11 lunar module. Now they used a little bit faster system. They transmitted 10 frames per second with a resolution of 320 frames. So they were a little more advanced than what amateur radio operators were doing at the time. So what was needed for the original SSTV? Well, as I said, there was actually quite a bit of specialized equipment. At the minimum, you had to have a black and white CCTV camera, a modem to create and receive the characteristic audio scratching, and a CRT with the long persistent phosphors that would keep a picture visible for about 10 seconds. In operation, the modem would generate audio tones of 1200 hertz for the sync and between 1500 to 2300 hertz for the camera's picture signals for transmission. And then, of course, in receive, it would work opposite. It would just receive the audio tones and then decode them. So it's almost like any other digital mode that we're using today, FT8 or MT63 or any of those modes. It's pretty much the same idea. It's just audio tones. And we still use the same 1200 for the sync and 1500 to 2300 for the signal. The first company, Robot Research, actually came out with a commercial SSTV system for amateur radio. And on the left there was an ad for their system. And it came with the TV, the camera, and then the long persistence phosphor display, and then in the box was the modem and everything. Now it only ran one mode. It ran a mode called Robots 36. And that's the only mode you could do with it. Does anybody remember the robot systems? Okay, Larry. I know this up the top right there, that top picture, that's what it actually looked like, the system. Now, I do know Akron News Amateur Radio Club had one. I don't know if they still have it or not, but they did have a robot system at Akron News Club. Then later on, a few years later, Robot came out with just a standalone modem only, and that was the 400 series. And that one would allow you just to take a composite monitor and stick a composite monitor, plug it in the back of the receiver, and then it would decode. And it actually had a whopping 64K of RAM. And it would actually send the pictures to the memory, and then you could use your composite monitor to display the picture. You didn't have to have something that was persistent. It would just display the picture on the monitor. And it also came with 4 additional modes, so it actually added some modes too. Then they came out with the 400C, which is that picture on the bottom right there. The 400C, the C stood for color. So that actually gave you color capability. So not only could you do black and white, but you could also do color. And then, of course, you could put a color composite monitor onto it and a color camera, and you could actually send and receive color pictures.
You say in color?
Yeah.
Was that in 1975?
Yeah, I don't know exactly when that was.
Yeah. Sure had in color.
In color, yeah, exactly, in color. So, and that was really exciting, amateur radio operators like, oh, we can transmit color pictures now. And if you don't know what one looks like, what SSTV looks like, on the left-hand side, that's what you would get on the monitor, on the original robot system. And you can see by the time the picture got to the bottom, the top was already fading out. And it wouldn't keep looping like that. I've got that picture in a loop just so you can see it. But it would be a one-shot deal. The 2 pictures on the right, those are from an iRobot system The one on the bottom looks good, the video looks right, and one on the top, the video is kind of squished, so I think that's got a horizontal hold problem. This was actually a picture from somebody on eBay that's trying to sell these two things.
I was telling you.
That's a boot camp picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that picture, from what I understand, I found the guy that actually sent that picture. That was actually a picture of his brother that was killed in the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, if you find something like this on eBay, unless you really want a boat anchor that just for nostalgia, don't bother buying them because it uses Robot 36. Nobody transmits Robot 36 anymore, hardly at all. And you may get a lemon like the one on the top there where the picture's all scrunched anyway. So they're not really worth anything. This guy, I think he wanted $500 or $600 for the pair. And yeah, just steer clear. It's not worth it. We can do so much more with our computers now. Speaking of, so where are we now? Obviously, with the onset of personal computers and the increasing power of the computers, SSTV has gained function and popularity. The pictures are now mostly in color, unless somebody specifically wants to transmit a black and white. You can still transmit a black and white picture if you want. And specialized software has taken the place of all of the custom modem equipment and everything you used to have. So all you need now is a small digital camera or digital photos as for your video input. The sound card of your computer becomes the modem. So just like you're using like FT8 or something like that, you're using the sound card of the PC for the modem. And then the software acts as the decoder and the part of the modem with the computer monitor displaying the decoded output. So now you just use your computer monitor to see the video. Or the picture, I should say. So what are the amateur, where can you find SSTV? SSTV can be found on almost every band. I do have to watch, like on 70 centimeters, on 440, it's actually on sideband. There's one 2-meter frequency that's sideband. Both 6-meter frequencies are sideband. And then of course on the HF side, just the normal sideband that you would usually use on those frequencies. And again, the International Space Station is 145.800 megahertz. The most active frequency is probably on 20 meters, 14,230. If you dial up 14,230 anytime or the day or the night, you're going to hear SSTV traffic. It's amazing. It's incredible. I was on the other day and there was actually an SSTV pileup. Wow. There were like 5 or 6 guys trying to send pictures at the same time. It doesn't work. The decoder gets all confused. It's like, wait, so it doesn't work well, but you really have to wait and take time and allow somebody else to transmit before you start transmitting over the top of them. But yeah, 14,230, dial that up anytime. If you have a tech license, it's okay. You can still receive the pictures. You don't have to transmit. So just dial up 14,230 and start receiving some pictures with the software.
So Ken, probably for if you were just starting out and wanted to see what this is all about, look after you load the software and do all that jazz. Probably 145.8 is the place to be.
Well, no, actually, if you're just starting out and you load the software up, you want to make sure the software is working. If you have an HF rig, go to 14,230 and dial that up. Because if it works on 14,230, it's going to work on the space station frequencies. So that's just a good way to test the software. Yes?
Is there a 10-meter frequency on the band?
680 might, yeah, it is. Huh.
It's CV.
Yeah, that's way low.
Typo?
Yeah, that might be a typo. I'll have to look into that. I think I actually pulled that right off the net somewhere, so they may have made a mistake.
But you can receive anyway, if in fact that's.
Well, yeah, you could receive anyway, if in fact that's the frequency. But now I wonder if that's maybe European or something. Maybe that's Europe. But 14,230 on HF is the place to be if you want to receive a bunch of pictures. And I can prove this to you. I set my receiver up one afternoon and I let it go for just about 6 hours, just receiving pictures. And by the time the 6 hours was up, I had so many pictures, I didn't know what to do with all of them. It was just a plethora of pictures. But it was interesting because, again, it's just about all the time on 14230, you'll get a SSTV picture. And here's just a few spattering of the pictures that I received that day. Now, granted, I think 20 meters might have been open that day because I did receive an enormous amount of pictures. But these are just some of the pictures you'll see on the SSTV. I don't know who sent a picture of the fuzzy duck down there, but they didn't put their call on it. But those are that's just a sample of some of the pictures.
That might have been George.
It might have been George. Yeah. Now DX, absolutely. You can get a lot of DX too. Just for instance, starting up in the left-hand corner there, YV4 GMG is from Venezuela. Next one to the right is 6Y5NZ from Jamaica, then DL1PP from Germany, then VA1ALO from Canada, HZ1SK from Saudi Arabia, HP1GDS from Panama, IN3BJS from Italy, F4EIK from France, PD7BDN from the Netherlands, and HA1AD from Hungary. So you get pictures from all over the world. I can't even tell you how many pictures I had to cut out. I had so much DX. I had Brazil, I had Panama, I had just about every country in the western part of Europe. It's just amazing how much is out there. So now I did receive something a little special. Unfortunately, it was a little noisy. I wish it would have been a little bit better, but it's a little noisy. That may have been, a lot of times you'll have guys that are close to the frequency on voice, on phone, and they'll be spattering you on phone, and that messes up the pictures, obviously. I wish that had come out better, but the call sign was what got my attention. I'm like, AM500TOR, what in the world? I went to QRZ, looked them up, and this was a special event station. Speaking of special events, yeah, so you can thank me for this later, Gary. This was a special event station that was running from Spain, and they were actually celebrating the 500th year anniversary of Magellan circumnavigating the globe. They were on for 1 week. They were transmitting on CW, phone, SSB. They were also transmitting. They even had a DMR talk group that you could talk to them on a DMR talk group. But this was a special event station. And I just had to throw it in there because, our astronauts are basically our explorers of today, and they're on a ship as well. So I had to just kind of throw that in there. I saw it, and I'm like, this would go nicely with the presentation.
I was just thinking that perhaps that was the special event for the sinking of the Spanish Armada. You never know.
You never know.
Special events.
But,
everywhere.
But yeah, if you bring up that call on QRZ, it has a whole bunch of information about it. It talks about the call sign. So the 500 was obviously for the 500th year. TOR refers to the Tor Navage of the now Victoria, one of the 2 surviving ships from which they departed from Seville. So it's interesting. Our explorers today on the space station, it takes them 90 minutes to do one pass of the Earth. The Spanish fleet, the Magellan expedition, took 90 days to do one circle of the Earth. So a bit of difference there. But yeah, they left Spain in 1521 and returned in 1522, so 500 years.
That's back when the Earth was flat.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, they fell off the edge one time. They fell off the edge one time and came to the other side.
Yeah. Now I do have some pictures from space here. Okay, they aren't really from space, but I had to throw them in there anyway. I thought those were interesting, so I threw them in there. Also, there's a bunch of pictures of the Borg and 7 of 9, of course. And other pictures.
Yeah, 7 of 9.
Yeah. And by the way, I did keep this family friendly. There are some
I'm sure there is.
pictures that are somewhat a little risque, so.
You're a good Christian man.
Yeah. Thank you. Family friendly was
That's right.
the name of the game here. But anyway, those were just some that I had to throw in since we're talking about pictures from space. All right, so getting back to the space station, let's zoom ahead here. Many of you may or may not know the space station actually has quite a ham radio antenna farm on it. There's actually 6 amateur radio antennas on the space station, believe it or not. There's 4 of them on this. This is the service module, SARA, the SARA module. This is the Russian side of the space station. There's 3 that you can see here in the picture. There's also one on the other side you can't see. At the other end down here of the space station is the Columbus module. That's the US American side of the module. They have 2 antennas on the Columbus module. So you have a total of 6 antennas. So what kind of equipment are they using on the ISS? They're using Ericsson MPX handheld radios, a Kenwood TM-D700, and a Kenwood D710. The Kenwood D700 is located in the service module, and it supports 2 meter and 70 centimeter, and it provides a higher output power. Like I said, it will do 25 watts, and it supports FM and packet operations on the shuttle, or the station, excuse me. Higher power capability allows nearly horizon-to-horizon signal reception using simple handheld radios or scanners. So again, nothing special involved with receiving these pictures from the space station.
Are they on win one?
Not that I'm aware of. So again, as I said, there's a set of 4 antennas on the service module, and they handle both the Kenwood D700 and D710 radios. Each of the 4 antennas can support amateur radio operations on multiple frequencies and allow for simultaneous automatic and crew-tended operations. So while they're doing the SSTV stuff, they can actually be doing other amateur radio operations at the same time. And having 4 antennas ensures that ham radio operations can continue aboard the station should one or more of the antennas fail. And 3 of 4 of the antennas are identical, and each can support both transmit and receive operations on 2 meters, 70 centimeters, the L band, and the S band. They also support reception for the station's Russian Gleiser TV system, which is used during spacewalks. I found this kind of interesting. So when the astronauts are out doing EVAs, they actually use one of the amateur radio antennas on the module to receive the video coming off of the helmets from the spacesuits from the astronauts. They also have a 4th antenna that's a 2.5 meter or 8 foot long vertical whip that can be used to support HF operations, particularly on 10 meters. Currently, one of the 3 VHF UHF antennas is disconnected, and the HF antenna has no radio hardware available for use, which I had to put a sad face on. We need to get a 10 meter HF rig up on that bird. That would be cool to work the space station on 10 meters. There are 2 antennas, again, like I said, on the Columbus module. They serve the Ericsson radios, and the frequencies that they have for transmission are 2 meter, 70 centimeter, L band, and S band. These antennas also support the ham TV DATV transmitter. Now, unfortunately, the ham digital ATV transmitter is currently down. It had some kind of technical problems, and they haven't worked it out yet. I have a feeling they probably have more pressing things to do on the space station than worry about why the amateur radio TV system isn't working. But yeah, but when it was working, it was really cool. They actually had live video from inside the shuttle, or I keep saying the shuttle, the space station. But now that did require specialized antennas and equipment. It was on 2.4 gigahertz. You had to have a dish type antenna, and it did have to track the space station, and you had to have a special receiver to receive the video, and it got into a lot of specialized equipment for that. So now I'm going to take a break. I'm going to let Randy tell us all about how we can receive what we need to do to receive the SSTV pictures from the space station. And the reason I'm doing this is twofold. One, Randy will do as good a job of it as I will. He uses all the same software that I use, and even the same antenna. He has the same antenna that I use. I just use a ground plane antenna on a tower about 50 feet up, But the other nice thing about this is Randy's video is on YouTube. So all you have to do is look up Randy K7AGE SSTV pictures and you can find his video. Because they just did an event last week. The space station just did an event last week. Boo hiss. So they won't have another event coming up for probably 6 months. So in 6 months' time, you're probably going to need a refresher. So that's why I'm telling you, you can find this video on YouTube anytime. So when you want to do a refresher, then you can just watch this video. So I'm going to start it up and let Randy take it over.
Does anybody do this during field?
Hello, Randy, K7AGE. I'm going to show you how to receive slow scan pictures from the International Space Station. Here we go.
That's what it sounds like. That's what the slow scan sounds like.
I may be leading you down a very frustrating path trying to receive images from the International Space Station. But I'm going to break it down into some manageable steps to give you a better chance for success. And you will be able to make this work. You may not receive any images during your first pass, but keep at it, you will be able to make this work. And when you see your first image, it'll seem like magic, but it's not. It'll be due to your hard work of being able to receive images from the International Space Station. Once you get this working, it's fun to show it to your friends and family that you're able to receive pictures from space. This is also a good club project to get people involved and learn a lot about tracking, slow scan TV, and pulling all this together. Receiving SSTV pictures from the ISS is not hard, but it does require a few things to be set up in order to do this. This video is being recorded a few days before a December 2021 ISS SSTV event. So this event starts on December 26th, the day after Christmas, runs through the 31st.
So this was last year, so don't.
7 days, 24 hours a day. A perfect opportunity. Gives you a lot of chances to be able to receive the images. Typically, they run through a rotation of 12 or 16 images, so the goal is to be able to receive them all. Maybe not perfect, but you have your collection. There are other SSTV events during the year, and you have to watch the times carefully because sometimes they'll post them out. You can find these from ARL or AMSAT, US or UK. And the times will be very limited. And you wonder why they're doing that. Well, it's probably because it's a SSTV event from the Russian side of the ISS, and they turn the thing on while it's over Russia. So your chance of, if you're in the US or other parts of the world, are basically zero. I've had people talk to me on the radio and said, I've listened, I didn't hear it. And I said, well, it's only on over Russia. So you kind of got to look at that carefully. For this event, Eris is hosting the event. I believe this to mean that the radio equipment is on the Columbus side of the space station using the Kenwood radio. There are many antennas on the outside of the International Space Station, some outside the Columbus module and some outside the Zeta. I believe that's how they pronounce it, module. I may have this wrong. Sometimes it's difficult to dig up the information. But the radio runs high power. It's not like the satellites that run a quarter watt or half watt. This is running like 10 to maybe 25 watts during the pass, which means it betters your chance of receiving a strong signal. Okay, now let's get into the details of how to do this. That's why you're watching this, right? Not for me ramble on for a long time. Anyway, first thing is, when can I receive the ISS? What is it over me? 2, how do I receive the ISS? What's required? Not a lot. 3, how do I decode SSTV? And there's a lot of possibilities that you can use. So the first thing is, when can I receive the ISS? This involves using satellite tracking software, and you select the ISS for the satellite that you want to track. You have lots of choices for tracking programs. There are web-based programs. You can get programs that run on your your iPhone or your Android, and lots of different Windows programs. The web-based program that I recommend is from heavensabove.com. And this is because, first of all, it shows you where the space station is on a map. And secondly, you can enter in your location just using a zip code or city, and then you can get a prediction. I also use this as a reference when I have other tracking programs I'm using, so I can compare what's on my phone to what I see on Heavens Above. And if the space station appears in the same position, I know I have my other tracking program set properly. Sometimes you can miss things like your location. If you enter it in this Latin mod, you may have a plus sign instead of a minus sign. You may have your time zone wrong. There's a lot of things that cause the tracking program to show the space station where it's not, and you'll waste a lot of time trying to be looking for it, and it's not there. It's somewhere else. Let's now go to the heavensabove.com webpage and see where the ISS currently is, how to set your location or my location, and how to do a prediction so you can have a list of when the space station will be over your location. Here we are at heavens-above.com website, and one of the first things it shows me here is the current location of the ISS. Now, this is not a real-time tracking, so always refresh to make sure that it's accurate. So here it's showing the space station between Africa and Antarctica. I use this as my reference when I'm setting up other tracking programs. If they're set right, if I have the location right, the time right, if I have an up-to-date orbital element set, the two should agree and show the position at the same place. If not, something is wrong with the other program. This one, as far as I know, is always right. So what we want to do next is change our observing location. So I can select that, and it brings up a map. It shows a pin here of my location, but you can zoom out the map and say, using the left click, put yourself in New York City. I don't want to do that because now the predictions would be if I was located there and not here. Another way you can do this, you can put in a city. I can put in my zip code, 97444, and do a search. It puts the pin here basically in the middle of the Rogue River, which is close enough. And make sure I push the update button. And if I look up here in the top right, it should now show that position, Curry County, with my Latin Lodge. Now we want to do the 10-day prediction. So 10-day predictions for satellites of special interest. We want the ISS. It defaults to show visible only passes, which is fine if you want to go outside on a clear night and be able to see the space station going over. This will tell you when and where. We're interested in radio, so we want all the passes. There's three main areas here. So we have dates, and the three main areas are the start of the pass, the highest point of the pass, the highest elevation above the horizon, and the end of the pass. Now this program defaults to only show passes above 10 degrees elevation, 10 degrees above your horizon. So the start here is at 4:53. It'll be 10 degrees at looking south-southeast. The highest point is 13 degrees at 4:54 to the southeast, and it ends at 4:56, again at 10 degrees to the east. So this is about a 3-minute pass. You're not going to be able to do much. The SSTV images takes 2 minutes to transmit. They typically have a 2-minute transmit cycle and a 2-minute receive cycle. And then it comes back, 2-minute transmit cycle. So 3-minute pass, good luck. The next pass is at 6:27, west-southwest. It peaks at 6:31 at 79 degrees. It means it's practically overhead to the northwest. And it sets at 6:34 to the northeast. So that is about a 7-minute pass. get 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 2 off. So during your at least be one complete image that's transmitted in your view. So this is your schedule when the ISS will be above your location. If you don't want to use any other tracking programs, select this, print it out, and you're all set. Now let's take a look at the AMSAT.org prediction page real quickly to give you a second one to check out. Here we are at the AMSAT.org. You can find predictions under satellite info, past predictions, and you can select which satellite from the list. We want ISS. You need your grid square or your latitude and longitude. I'm going to enter in my grid square, CN72, and hit predict. It came up, says no valid latitude or longitude. It'll attempt to compute that from the grid square, which it does, and it goes to this window here. I find this not as easy to use as the heavens above, because this is in UTC time versus your local time. That's probably what you're going to be concerned with. Whereas the other one, it broke down the time and the angle where the satellite started from, the maximum position, and the end. So here it's here's your direction for the start of the pass, the maximum elevation at this azimuth, and then it sets at this azimuth here. So just another one to try. Now let's look at a program I use on my Apple iPad and my iPhone. It's called GoSat Watch. And it's not free. It's about $10. There's a lot of them out there, but this is one I use. So I'll show you real quickly how that works. So this is GoSat Watch. Let me bring that up. And the way I have this running is just in a world map, which you can move around. You can also get it in a globe type thing where you can spin it around. That's kind of neat. We go back to the regular map here. Here's where the IS is. We'll check that here in a second. There's a couple things you got to set. So you go into settings, and first thing is your location. And I have mine in here. You can just use current location. It'll try and figure out the best through the networking, or you can edit and add a new location and enter latitude and longitude. And that's basically about it. Preferences, whether or not you want the Earth night metric units and things like that you can play with, what your minimum elevation is. Set to, I have it set to 0, and I go back here, okay, and go to here. You go to satellites, and depending on what type of satellites you have entered in, you can select between different things. And this little refresh thing up here at the top will download the new 2-element Keplerian satellite elements. So
I'm going to stop for just a second and explain what the Keplerian elements are. If you're using localized software on your PC, you have to keep these Keplerian elements updated. So what's a Keplerian element? Well, there was a gentleman by the name of Johann Kepler, and Johann Kepler in the 1500s came up with a formula for figuring out the position of an object in a orbit in 3D space. So he actually came up with a formula, and it requires 6 variables, and you take those 6 variables, you plug them into the formula, and it'll give you an exact location of that object for those elements. So that's what the Keplerian elements are. Now, NASA's gone a little bit further. They've refined the formula, and they actually use 8 elements now instead of 6. But you really need, especially with the space station, you have to keep those elements updated if you're going to have a local program on your local PC to just figure out where the space station is. Why is that? Well, there's a couple reasons. For one, the space station isn't hanging there in space. Okay, it's actually in the Earth's gravitational pull. So the space station wants to come down, and they have to every now and then adjust the altitude of the space station to keep it up there. We all know what happened to Skylab when
Right.
Skylab stopped, when they stopped updating Skylab's position, kaboom, it splashed down on the Earth. So it's always, so that distance between the space station and the Earth is always changing. The other thing that causes those Keplerian values to change is the space station is also somewhat in the Earth's atmosphere. It's not, it's not like you can open a window on the space station, but it is still kind of in the atmosphere, and the atmosphere actually produces drag on the space station. So the space station actually slows down in its orbit over time too. So those are things that you have to take into consideration when you're running this software. Now, I recommend updating your Kepler elements about every 7 days for the space station. That's good for the space station. For the amateur satellites, you don't have to update them as often because they're very small and they don't quite have the same effects that the space station has on them. But for the space station, I recommend 7 days. And you can set up the software. He's going to talk to you about Orbitron. That's the software you can use on Windows. And Orbitron will actually let you define how many days you want it to go before the elements have to be updated. And if you bring up Orbitron, it will tell you if you're past that day. I have mine set for 7 days. And I'll bring up Orbitron on my system here, and you'll see when it comes up, it's going to say, hey, your elements are outdated. They're older than 7 days. You need to get new elements. So I just want to throw that in there.
The computer here is figuring out the orbits correctly. I have amateur radio selected. And we go to info. Here's a whole list of amateur radio satellites, including the space station here. I have that selected. I only have one selected here at the moment. So that's showing you where it is. And if you want to do a prediction, you can go to passes here, and it's going to calculate. And it now has come up with a series of passes. If I press now, it says the next one here is at 2:34 my time. It starts at 2:34, ends at 2:38, a peak of 1 degree. And if I select that, it'll bring up this little radar, and you can see it will just skirt the horizon. So that's a nothing pass. Next one's let's look at this one here at 64 degrees. You can see that.
To get a good picture, you really need about 15 degrees or better. He says, he has his set up for 10 degrees.
Anyway, that's Go Satellite.
I don't have much luck at 10 degrees. I can't usually hear the space station until it's about 15 degrees.
Let's compare this to heavens above to see if we're tracking properly. So here's the two side by side, and gee, it's not, they don't match at all. Here it is off Africa, south of the United States, but make sure you hit the refresh screen. And there it is. You can see it's right off the edge of Africa there. So I know this is now working properly. Then there's many programs that run on your computer in both Windows, Mac, and Linux. Now, I'm a Windows guy. I don't know about the Mac and the Linux programs. Search for satellite tracking. I'm sure there's a bunch of them out there. Look on YouTube, you find videos there. Orbitron for Windows is what I use. It's free. It's a little extensive, a little complex. If you don't get it set right, it'll give you wrong information. And this is why I like the web-based things for the beginners. But let's take a look at this quickly. So here's the main screen in Orbitron, and main tab down here. So this shows me the location of the ISS. It shows the coverage circle. So any stations located within the circle will be able to receive the satellite or the space station.
The coverage circle he's talking about, that's also referred to as the footprint. So you hear about satellites will have a footprint. So anytime you're within that footprint or that circle, you should be able to receive the item that's coming over.
It shows the upcoming orbit path. You can see it's going to still be quite a bit out to the west of me. Moon, sun, and my location. You can go zoom, right click on the map and say bring up North America. Zoom and go back to normal. You set your location in the location tab, Here I've entered in my location. I use my call sign for the name. I've entered in the my grid square, or you can do your latitude and longitude and set your elevation. To do a prediction, you set up your prediction. If you go automatic, it'll do it in days, hours, or minutes. If you go manual, you can enter in dates like 12/26 through December 31st. I have it set for minimum elevation of 5 degrees. I go to prediction here. It's empty at the moment. I'm ready to predict. It runs the calculations and it brings up a series of predictions here. So I'm going to scroll down here to this next set. A little more interesting. So here's the time, local time. You have this for a local or else UTC. So I have it local. So at 5:39, it'll start at azimuth of 225 degrees, 5-degree elevation. At 5:43, at 141 degrees azimuth, the ISS will be at 64 degrees elevation. It'll be pretty high. And then it ends at 5:48 at 59 degrees azimuth, again at 5 degrees elevation. So that's Orbitron in a nutshell. It would take me a whole lot longer to go through and explain all this to you, but this is the type of stuff that's available when you run on a computer. Again, beginners, heavens above, do a prediction, get your schedule, and go on to the next part of receiving the event. So the $64,000 question, does Orbitron match heavens above? So let me refresh heavens above, bring Orbitron back up. This shows it, that's kind of difficult to tell because different projections here on the map, but looks like it's pretty much due west of me here in the United States, and I see that on here. So I'd say Orbitron is working fine. So you now learned how to find the space station is over your head so that you can receive it. So now to receive it, it doesn't take fancy equipment. I mean, a simple old scanner can take and receive the space station. You know, the common Baofeng is perfectly acceptable. If you have fancier HDs, this ICOM ID 51, this works great too with another little feature we'll get to. Anything that receives 2 meters, 145.800 is the frequency the space station transmits on. I'll be using my IC 9700 and my ID 52 here. Some demonstrations here coming up. As far as antennas, yeah, what's on the radio, we'll probably hear it, especially with the higher elevation passes. When the space station's coming over, don't point your radio at it, have it broadside. There's a null off the end here. This is minimal reception, and broadside is better. If you have one of these longer antennas, it works even better. You can use a mobile radio. Your mobile antenna will probably receive it just fine. For more permanent base station antennas, something as simple as a quarter wave ground plane vertical. I have a video on it from years ago, very popular. You know, 5 hunks of 19-inch wire soldered on a connector, hooked a coax on the bottom, you're up and running. And what I use here for my station, I have a Comet, I think it's a GP15. It's a tri-band antenna. It's 6 meter, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. And it has a very narrow pattern. So wire and antenna pattern is something to think about, but don't think too hardly. Since the space station will spend, most of the orbits that you will be receiving on are between 15 to 60 degrees. So that's where you want your radiation pattern, if possible. Now, my GP15 has a much narrower radiation pattern, which forces more of the energy or the reception window towards the horizon, which you think, well, maybe that doesn't work as well. I've been very pleased with it. It's done really well. I can pick off some of the low passes coming over the ocean. Don't forget, as the satellite gets closer overhead, it gets closer, therefore it gets stronger. So a quarter wave will work fine. And the ultimate, if you have tracking antennas with azimuth and elevation control beams, that'll computer run and automatically track the space station. That's kind of the ultimate end.
KFIC, John.
This will get you started. A couple other things to think about. On some mobile radios, like my 9700 here, some of the radios will allow you to select different filter bandwidths. You kind of want a wider filter because a satellite with a space station, as it's moving towards you, is high in frequency. When it's at its midpoint, it's on the frequency you think it should be, and as it passes away, it'll go lower. This is the Doppler effect. Now, it's not tremendous in the 2 meter band, and most radios can handle it just fine. Don't worry about it. But if you have the opportunity to select a wider filter, do it. It'll help. The next thing you may have to fiddle with is somehow how to get the audio out of here into your decoding program. So we'll cover that more with the decoding programs. All right, now I know when the space station will be overhead. I know how to receive it on a radio. I know what antenna to use. 145.8 is the channel. Software to take and decode it. So slow scan television. It's really not television. It's a method to send still pictures. It was developed in the late 50s with tube-type equipment to hold scope tubes that you couldn't hold the whole image. It would fade away. It's really primitive compared to what we can do today with free software. I like to use MMSSTV for Windows. It's free. So let's take a look at that here. Okay, MMSSTV, as well as several other programs, is available from handsoft.ca. And he has here several different programs. Now, these really aren't supported anymore, but they work just fine. And what we're interested in here is in the MMSSTV program, written by JE3HHT. And so here's where you can download it. There's another version which has been updated, this MMSSTV YONIQ. And I haven't played with this, but this has been more updated. You can see he's changed the user interface, but we'll stick with MMSSTV. This is what it looks like after you install it. So this is kind of a naked version, not showing you anything here. But basically, this window here, when you're in the Receive tab, will show you the picture as it's being received. This over here selects the mode. Now there's lots of different SSTV modes. You can run it in the auto and it will detect which mode it is when it transmits, or you can manually select a mode here. Scotty, Martin 1, Martin 2. The ISS will be sending in PD 120. So I can right click on this button here, and here's all the different standards. We love standards, there's so many. I can select PD 120, and that's it. Now, it'll still receive it without doing that, but sometimes it's nice if you have to manually force it into that mode. What we see up here is the spectrograph of the bandwidth of the receiver, and when it's downloading, you'll see a strong signal spike here at the 1200. That's the sync range, and then the image information is between 1500 and 2300. It has a logging program built in. History, you can see what you've decoded. In fact, there's a view here that says always show thumbnails of history. So these are various images that I've received. A lot of them are just noisy. These are probably off of 20 meters. So I'll just get rid of that for now. some of the things to set it up. You go to Option, Set Up MMSSTV. You get this window here. And we probably want to start in the, I got my notes here, in the Miscellaneous tab. So go to Miscellaneous here. And if you have a direct audio connection or a sound card interface or a signal link, that's where you would select that. Right now I'm selected for my 7610. I can select my 9700 for the input. We're not going to transmit, but I can set it for the output too. If you'd like to see how I change the names of these, leave a note in the comment and I'll show you how to do that. It's pretty simple. Let me see what else here. You want to have the clock rate at 48,000. And the rest of this you can just kind of leave normal. We go to receive. We pretty much leave all this alone, although I make sure all of these in this area here are set. So it'll auto start, it'll auto restart, it'll auto resync, it'll auto slant, and it will decode the frequency shift key ID of the picture format at the beginning of the transmission. Squelch level, low or lowest, and auto start on the VIS or the sync. Transmit, we're not transmitting, so it doesn't really matter. So let's see this work. Okay, for now, a demonstration here, but I'm recording this before the SSTV event, so there's no space station transmitting overhead. So what I have here is my ISS. This is my ICOM space station simulator, and it's my IC705. And on my Toughbook here, I have a video that I recorded a couple of years ago, had like 27 minutes of recorded ISS SSTV passes. So this is perfect sample files for you to practice with. The link will be down below if you can go and get that. So let's see if it's working here. And let me step forward here and put the radio in transmit. And you can hear it coming out of my 9700. So let's see how MMSSTV decodes this. Let's see MMSSTV receive an image from my ICOM space station simulator here. Let me turn on the transmitter, start the image. There's a signal. There we go. It automatically picked up PD 120. Let me turn this down now. You can see my sync information at 1200, my picture information between 1200 and 2300 hertz. If you push this magnifying glass, it'll pop open a large image here. And you may see it kind of align the image here, make it straight. Sometimes it'll pause and you'll see it.
If you notice, the image right now is starting to
Align
slant a little bit to the right.
Continue.
You got,
Yeah, you don't miss anything, but it just kind of pauses while the
software
software's
will
figuring that
automatically
out.
figure out that, oh, the image is
There's the audio
slanted,
level
and it will
running here.
correct the image for you. So
This looks like a good pass.
on the left-hand side, there's a young lady here. When it gets down, when the picture gets down to just below her chin, watch the picture. It will
I'm just
automatically
going to pause here
correct
for a
the
minute. We'll
shift.
come back towards the end of the image.
And right about now.
Do you see it? Do you see it slant? Correct.
So it's slant corrected, and that's what the slant correction, if you turn that
That's
on,
gonna
that's what it'll
correct.
do for you.
And now we're finishing up the image. So they saw the correction there where it straightened it out. And here we are. We're done. So there we go. That's how that works. And one of the nice things about this is that it saves all the images here in the history file. So if you see one that you like that came in good, you can right click on it and save it. I usually save it with a timestamp. So here's a bunch of images that I had received back in June. I'm going to create a new directory here in a couple days. If you have images in here which are poor, you can right click on it and delete the image. So you can go through and clean this all up. So you can delete images and you can save images. What I do is that come on the first day of the pass, I'll turn on my radio and turn on this, and I'll let it run 24 hours a day for the whole week.
That's what I do.
And everything that it receives will show up down here in the history file. And then once a day or a couple times a day, I'll go through here and I will clean out different images here. I think it can hold 64. I'm not entirely sure.
And actually, I hold up to 256 images. That's
history with the
also
thumbnails.
something you can do in the.
So that's a quick overview
Tell
of
how many images you want to
MMSSTV.
hold.
Now let's see another way that you may receive your image. So here's another way that you can acquire your SSTV image is to break up the process into two parts. So one is to receive it and record it, and the other one is to play back the recording and then decode it. So this is probably the easiest way for first-time users. You can go outside and hold your phone by the radio and record the image. So let's do a recording. Okay, so I'm going to start the recorder. It's recording. And start the playback. So we have it recorded. Well, let's see what we can do with it. Stop it here. Okay, I have the file on my phone. I have MMSSTV running on my laptop. I have the audio input selected for the microphone. Let's play this back and see.
I'm going to stop it here for just a minute. This is not the best way to receive these pictures, and you're going to see he's going to have a lot of trouble trying to acoustically couple them. I recommend if you've got the file with the audio, go ahead and put the file on your laptop, and there's a program that you can get that's free. It's called VB Audio Software. And what VB Audio Software will allow you to do is take the audio out of any program like your Windows audio player, and reroute that back into your PC without having any cables or anything. It's all done internally with software. And then you can set up the MMSSTV program to listen to that output. And that way you can play the file right directly on your PC, and it'll just go right into your MMSSTV program. You won't have any kind of audio issues or anything. In fact, I could do it here, and I could sit here and talk, or we could clap or whatever, and it wouldn't affect the picture image at all because it's all done internally. So I recommend doing that because you're going to see he has some trouble with this, trying to do this acoustically.
What happens?
Not to mention he talks quite a few times through this too, so he adds his own QRM to the picture.
Okay, well, it's just about done. It's not as good as direct coupling. There's a lot of like room echo and stuff, a lot of weird ghosting in the picture, but hey, it's a start. You start simple and you work to a better setup. Okay, I have this SSTV iPad software for the iOS devices for Apple. It's from Black Cat Systems. It's $2.99 from the App Store. I find it a little finicky to get it going, so I'm gonna tell it to stop, and I'm gonna start this and see if it starts up properly. That looks better. I had trouble getting it to start from the beginning. adjust the phase, find the right color, and the skew to get it straight. And I'm going to push the save. I'm going to turn this on here. Save to photos, so hopefully it gets saved. And this is a little better, yes, access to the photos. Yeah, because it disappears. So there, I brought it back from the saved photos. So it's, I don't see as much of this echo and type of distortion as I did when I did it on the laptop. But this just to go to show you that you can do an acoustic coupling. You can do audio recording. You know, if you're able to control this software better, you're able to do it right into the, having it right by the radio. But if it screws up, you've lost the pass. That's where recording the audio really helps. And for other software that's out there, I mentioned the Black Cat systems for the iPhone and iPad. There's Android, Robot 36, Multiscan for the Mac, and QSSTV for you Linux users. Now, I don't have any experience with these, so you're on your own, or do what you do. You go to YouTube and do a search and find out how to use those programs. One of the things you may have to look at doing is to have some type of audio interface between your radio and your computer. Now, these have been around for years due to, you know, the original PSK31 and now FT8, you know, everything from a little circuit that you can build up to, you know, signal links were very popular. And many of the newer, at least large radios have the USB sound cards built in. But, you know, if you go from the speaker out of the radio to the microphone input of the computer, you have to be careful that you do not overload that. You may need to come up with a simple resistor divider, say a 10 to 1 or 20 to 1 ratio in order to reduce the audio level going into the microphone input. If your computer has a line input, then you're all set. You can pretty much connect the speaker lead right into the radio, and that'll give you much better quality than the acoustic coupling of holding the microphone near the speaker. Another hint is that during the pass, open up the squelch on your radio so that you can really receive down into the noise. Of course, you'll just get noise in the picture. And with radios like the ID51, I'm sure the brand new ID52 and the IC9700 and maybe other radios allow you to record directly what the receiver is receiving to the SD card or the micro SD card that's in the radio. And fortunately, it records it as a WAV file, so you can play it back with a lot of players. Well, that's been a lot of information here. I covered, I hope I have everything. It should be enough to get you started. Remember kind of the three things you need to kind of think about. One is I recommend you go to Heavens Above if you're not familiar with satellite tracking. Enter your location, get the past prediction when the ISS is over your head. Get your radio ready, 145.800, no tone, no PL, no offset. You're just going to receive. You can use a rubber ducky, a longer rubber ducky. You can use your mobile radio. The antenna that's on your vehicle will work just fine. If you have an outside 2-meter antenna, use it. Use what you have to get started. You can always improve when you're on. And then there's the software. And again, to start with, there's a lot of things to take and fiddle with. So I almost recommend recording the audio and then playing it back. Is getting used to the SSTV software can be a little finicky, especially like what you saw on the iPad there. And if you're trying to do it live, you may miss that pass. So it helps to record and practice so you get familiar with how things all work. Have fun. I think that's it. I'll be posting my pictures on my @K7AGE Twitter account. And I hope everybody has fun and is able to receive pictures from the International Space Station. 73, and thanks for watching. This is Randy, K7AGE.
Thanks, Randy. All right, so I hope all of you got something out of that. A lot of information, like Randy said, but like I said, that's why I'm playing this video, because this is up on YouTube. So 6 months from now, when you're ready to try receiving pictures from the space station, you can always go back and look at this video as a refresher. So one thing Randy didn't mention, he mentioned, that you can, for bragging rights, basically, you can get these pictures and you can tell your family, hey, I received a picture from the International Space Station, bragging rights. The one thing he didn't mention is they also award you for receiving these pictures. And the awards, I have a couple. I'm pretty proud of them. I put them in frames. But the awards are actually they look like this. And I have a better picture. And you can come up and look at these after if you want. But the awards look like this. And basically, the awards at the top, it says what the event was. So this says the first satellite to orbit the Earth, October 4th, 1957. This event was done October 3rd and 4th and 6th and 8th of 2020. Now that was really kind of strange. I don't know why they broke it up. Apparently they had something going on the space station on the 5th, so they couldn't do anything with the RF on the space station on the 5th. It made it very hard to receive a lot of the images because of it being broken up like that. It's much better if you get like a full week. You get a lot better results. But these awards are nice. They are serialized, and it has your name and your call. Like this says Kenneth Dorsey, K-O-E-D, received SSTV images commemorating placing the first artificial satellite into orbit of the Earth sent through the amateur radio system installed on the Russian segment of the International Space Station. And of course, everything's also in Russian. But so this was the Sputnik one. Here's a couple pictures. Now these pictures aren't great because again, I didn't have a good window of opportunity. But here's one of the pictures, and you can see the Sputnik satellites in the picture there. I don't know why it's flickering. That's not me. This picture wasn't bad. A little bit of noise, and that may have been the satellite may have just been coming up, and I may have caught the beginning. And again, it's all a timing thing too, because if the satellite, if the space station had just finished, let's say they're halfway through an image when they're when they're over you, okay, the image is going to stop. You're not going to get that image because they're already halfway through it. So then you're going to have to wait out the 2 minutes before they start transmitting the next image. So it's kind of a timing thing. That's why when I do this, I just leave my radio on 24/7, leave the software running, and then I weed out the pictures that are really bad. This wasn't bad. Also down here in the recording, you'll see they have a series number. This is series 16, and they have a number for the picture itself. So this was number 2 of 12. So this series had 12 pictures. Here's another one from the same series. Again, you'll see, the Sputnik satellite pretty much always in the pictures. I believe on the upper left picture there, I believe those were the 2 inventors of Sputnik. I think those were the developers, I believe. I don't know. I can't speak. I can't read Russian, so. Again, another one, Sputnik, the ISS. This one wasn't so good. This had to do with a nano satellite and something else, and so that one didn't come out real well. This one kind of the same. So, I mean, not bad. This was, I think this was 12. Yeah, this was 12 of 12. So I got most of them. I think I missed 4 and 6 or something. The second award, this was from last December. So this was from that event that Randy was talking about. December 26th through the 31st of 2021. This was lunar exploration. Okay, this gave me a lot better window because I had a full week, 24/7 to receive these pictures. And again, nice award that you get. You only need to receive one picture, and you don't have to receive it perfectly. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to show you how to go about getting the award. But these were the pictures. These came out, like I said, I got a lot better pictures because I had a lot more time to get them. Luna 1, Luna 2, and again, lunar exploration. That was the whole theme of this event. So that picture there That was the picture of the far side of the moon that they actually sent back in SSTV. So that's the actual SSTV image of the far side of the moon from 1959. And their SSTV picture doesn't look any better than mine. Another U.S. Ranger. This one, I wish this one would have come out better. I was disappointed that I had so much noise in that one. But lunar, some kind of lunar rover for the Russians. Now, of course, our lunar rover. And I did manage to get all 12. Not all of them were great, but at least I did manage to get the entire series.
So to get the award, you need to get all of them?
No,
one.
just one.
Just one.
Just one, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'll show you. So
It can be like us, not perfect.
there's a couple of things to do. First of all, if you want to know when the next event's coming up, there's a couple options, but the best place to go is the ARISS site, Amateur Radio and International Space Station. If you go to this site and you go over to where it says General Contacts, go down to SSTV blog. And this SSTV blog will actually tell you when all the SSTV events are coming up and what times and stuff. So, like for instance, the event in last December was the Year of the End SSTV event. So it gives you the time and the dates when the event is going to take place, and it tells you, about the event. Now, it doesn't really tell you what the event is, as far as what kind of, what they're going to do, but it does tell you. So to receive the award, if you go if you're on this page, go to this, click on this ARISS SSTV award. It's going to take you to a new site. And this is the award site. Now this site's kind of cool because you can actually scroll through and see all the awards that they have given out in the past. And to get the award, what they'll do is they'll send you an email with a link, and you just click on the link and it downloads the award as a PDF file. So you just print out the PDF. But so you can see all the various awards. But up at the top, when you first open the page, it has a rules thing, and then the rules explain exactly what you need to do. It has to be in some form of an electronic format, obviously, and it says, load your decoded images on this page. So you click on this page, that'll take you to a form. So you fill out the form, your name, and any of these items, if they pertain to you, you can check them. Your call sign, your email address, your general region, so for us it would be like North America, obviously. Then your grid square, the date and the time that you received the image. And this is very important because they use these images as a way to tell how well the transmissions are coming from the space station. So they actually use this as a diagnostic tool for NASA. And then you go down to, obviously, the choose file and find the file you're going to send, and then just click the file and then upload it. Once you've uploaded the file, then go back. Then you can come down here to application form. And you click on this form, and this will take you to the application. Now, they only give you about 4 or 5 days to get your picture posted and the application turned in. They don't give you much time. So you got to do this quickly when you do it. And obviously you can see this is for the event that just finished on the 13th, and they've already got the award application closed. So they don't give you a whole lot of time for the awards. But then what they will do is they'll ask you, what picture did you upload, everything. They'll check the picture out. They'll make sure it's a good picture, and they'll make sure it's not a picture of the family dog or something like that. And then once they've verified it, you'll get an email from them back with the link for your award, to download your award. So kind of cool. Now you can also, if you go back one more page here, you can also look at the gallery. And this gallery actually shows the pictures that people have uploaded to get an award for. So I wish I hadn't missed this event, because this was Women in Space. It would have been kind of cool. but unfortunately, like I said, there just weren't any good passes for us. See the pictures, people, if you know somebody that has uploaded a picture, like K8OAD, for instance, you can search on their call. Yeah, who's that guy? And you can actually see the pictures I uploaded to get my awards. Now you can see those pictures aren't perfect. They're far from it, but it's still enough to get an award. So that's the way you can get the awards. Kind of neat. Now, as far as the software goes, I just want to do a couple things. I want to try to get this out here by 9, so I'm going to try to rush. I'm going to bring up the Orbitron software. Okay. So now you can see I brought up my Orbitron software. The first thing it says is my loaded files contain elements older than 7 days. Please update the TLE data. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to go down here. We're on the main menu. You click on this little toolbox icon. Oops. Let's cancel that. You click on this toolbox icon. It comes up with this tool. You go over to TLE Updater. What the TLE file is, the TLE is the 2-line element file. So if you open this TLE file up, you're going to see 2 lines of a bunch of data. And each one of those 2 lines is data for that particular satellite or the space station. And all of those TLE files contain all those all these items over here that you can select are in the TLE file. So I'm going to go ahead and update my TLE files. To do that, you go over here to this little globe that has like a little lightning bolt on it. You click on that. And now you'll see it's downloading from the internet all the TLE files with all the Keplerian data. So I'll know that my Keplerian data is correct. Once it's done, you can OK it. OK that, and it's going to reload. So now I know that the International Space Station is over China at the moment. So that's the way you update your TLE files. Now I want to do something real quick. I want to do a prediction. And I'm going to predict. I want to see if I can find a good pass here. Okay, here's a great pass. So on the 23rd at 6:45 in the morning, the pass starts. At 6:48, it'll be almost directly overhead. It's at 83 degrees, which is practically overhead. And then it's going to end at 10 degrees at 6:51. So that's a very good pass. That's a good 6-minute pass.
In the morning?
Yeah, that's in the morning.
It's set on the hour.
It's in the morning, Gary.
Apparently, this is not going to work for Gary. None of this is going to.
I was real excited about this.
You just turn your radio on for a week, he said, 24/7. So
Yeah, there you go.
Turn the radio on and let it run.
Yep, turn the radio on.
then you can sleep. Not a problem. Just got to make sure you're there for the barometer. Turn it off for the barometer.
Yeah, there you go. Turn off.
You gotta wake up tomorrow morning. We want to hear you on the piranha.
The piranha net, that's what it is.
I don't, well, you were Johnny on the spot this morning, Mark. You were 15 seconds early. Just want you to know.
Yeah, I know. Tomorrow morning, I'll make that half hour.
Half hour.
Yeah, I couldn't find you on that.
Okay.
So I do take offense to the no family dog pictures.
Sorry.
Right, you guys?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is you can actually do a simulation on this too. I'm set up for a simulation. So I'm going to simulate this pass that's going to be coming over on the 23rd at 6 in the morning. And when the satellite gets within range, watch this little Orbitron icon down here. So I'm going to step it manually here for a second. Okay. You notice it changed to this little radar. Okay, so you would be right in the dead center of the radar. So if the satellite went right overhead, it would basically go right over that X. Each one of these concentric circles is 15 degrees. We got 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, and 90. So I'm gonna start this pass, and you'll be able to see the pass as the space station goes over. But I want you to notice, right now it's too low. So let's go to
This is simulating the prediction.
This is simulating the prediction, yes. So I'm going to move this to 15 degrees. Okay, so there's about 15 degrees. So now you should be able to start seeing pictures, or at least hear the signal from the space station. So we're at 646. So I'm going to start it up. And I'm doing this in quarter of a minute increments. So now you can see the space station almost directly overhead at 648, and then we're getting down to 15 degrees at 650, or let's say 651. Okay, so it's still too early. Yes, it's still.
You can move.
Yeah.
You've got to at least be thinking about the barometer net by 6:51, Gary.
So we went 646 to 651. So we got about a 5-minute pass out of that. So that's
Plenty of
good.
time, Gary.
So you should be able to receive one image easily.
Right before
on
net.
that pass.
Hold on, guys. I'm receiving a picture.
Nutshell. I'm not going to go into a lot of things. So yeah. Past your bedtime. Okay. One more. Just bear with me 1 second. So I'm going to bring up MMSS TV. Now you can see I've got some pictures saved here already. Some various shots. And I'm going to go ahead and transmit. And do that. I need to make one change here. And I'll turn this down and we'll just watch this actually receive. And while we're doing that, does anyone have any questions before we close out? Questions, comments, Mark? Yes.
So the signals are only coming down during the event, correct?
Correct. Correct. Yeah. It's only when the event is going. So like I said, you'll have to watch that ARISS site, or if I happen to see when the next event is, I'll certainly let somebody know to put it on the website.
Well, the guy who did the video, I think he said he had some audio files uploaded.
He does, yeah. You can go out. And this is I pulled this audio file off of the net too. So you can go out and get some audio files and test your MMSS TV configuration to know whether or not it's actually working for you. Cool. You can certainly do that too. One thing I didn't mention on the HF pictures that I had, those weren't on any real good equipment. I was using a in-fed 135-foot, just an in-fed antenna about 35 foot off my tower and stretched across the backyard. So I didn't have any real impressive antenna receiving equipment to receive those 20-meter pictures that I had. That was just off of an in-fed long wire is all they were. So
I think the interesting thing about this, quite honestly, and when you did this presentation at the Gary's meeting, what intrigued me was this is a pretty sophisticated technology that we as ham radio people can participate in with really no expenditure of capital. Basically use what you have and really have a very, very cool experience with